Instructor Velnaris had been teaching psychic sensitivity at the Galactic Academy for over 2 centuries. The elegant Zephyrian's crystalline form shimmered with nervous energy as she reviewed the roster for Advanced Telepathic Resonance, her most exclusive course. Only species with confirmed psychic potential were admitted: the Altarians with their natural empathic abilities, the Centaurians whose multiple brains created complex thought networks, and the Draconians whose ancient minds could touch the quantum foam itself. This semester, however, contained an anomaly that made her manipulator tendrils twitch with uncertainty. 3 humans from Earth.
"Surely there's been an administrative error,"
she whispered to her teaching assistant, a young silicate whose form pulsed with shared confusion.
"Humans have no documented psychic abilities. Their minds are completely opaque to telepathic scanning."
The first day of class proved even more troubling than she'd anticipated. Cadet Emma Walsh sat quietly in the back row, flanked by her fellow humans Jake Rodriguez and Aisha Okafor. While the other students demonstrated their innate abilities, Altarian Kestel projecting waves of emotional resonance, Draconian THY Seskar manipulating probability fields with his thoughts, the humans simply observed with the patient attention of people watching an interesting documentary.
"Today we begin with basic telepathic shielding,"
Instructor Velnaris announced, her voice carrying harmonics that directly stimulated the psychic centers of most species.
"The ability to protect one's thoughts from intrusion is fundamental to all advanced mental disciplines."
She demonstrated the technique, creating a visible aura of protective energy around her crystalline form. The other students followed suit, their various psychic signatures glowing softly in the specialized classroom lighting. The humans raised their hands.
"Instructor,"
Emma said politely,
"we can't actually see what you're doing. Could you explain the theory behind psychic shielding?"
Velnaris's form flickered with embarrassment. Of course, the humans couldn't perceive psychic energy. Their species was essentially blind to the mental realm that other civilizations took for granted.
"The principle is simple,"
she explained, activating the translation matrix to convert psychic concepts into crude verbal language.
"You create a barrier of mental energy to deflect telepathic probes and emotional manipulation."
Jake nodded thoughtfully.
"So it's like mental armor?" "A crude but adequate analogy, yes." "Right,"
Aisha said, closing her eyes in concentration.
"Give us a minute."
What happened next defied every principle of psychic science that Velnaris had spent centuries studying. The humans didn't generate protective auras or manipulate quantum fields. Instead, they simply disappeared. Not physically, they remained clearly visible in their seats. But psychically, they became absolute voids. Velnaris tried to probe their minds with increasingly powerful telepathic scans, but encountered something that shouldn't have been possible: perfect, impenetrable silence.
"How?"
she whispered. Emma opened her eyes and smiled.
"Meditation techniques from Earth. When you grow up on a planet where everything wants to eat you, you learn to quiet your mind completely. Predators on our world hunt by sensing fear, stress, and emotional signatures. But you're not generating psychic shields,"
Velnaris protested.
"You're simply not there."
Jake shrugged.
"Different approach, same result. Our ancestors survived by becoming invisible to things that hunted by mental signature. We call it going dark."
The lesson continued with increasingly bizarre results. When Velnaris introduced telepathic communication exercises, the humans couldn't participate directly. But they could perfectly identify when psychic messages were being transmitted based on subtle physical cues that escaped other species entirely.
"Micro-expressions,"
Aisha explained when pressed.
"Humans evolved to read incredibly subtle social signals. We can tell when you're thinking at each other even if we can't hear what you're saying."
The breakthrough came during the advanced psychic combat simulation. The scenario required students to defend against telepathic assault while maintaining offensive capabilities, a complex mental juggling act that typically took years to master. The psychic species struggled with the exercise, their minds overwhelmed by competing demands. The humans, however, approached it like any other combat scenario from their homeworld.
Kestel, you're broadcasting your emotional state,
Emma called out calmly.
HFY Seskar, your probability manipulation has a tell. You hold your breath when you're concentrating.
Within minutes, the humans had neutralized every psychic attack through pure observational skills and tactical awareness. They couldn't participate in the mental realm, but they could predict and counter every move made by species that relied too heavily on psychic abilities.
This is unprecedented,
Valneris muttered, reviewing the exercise data.
They've weaponized the absence of psychic ability.
Jake overheard and grinned.
Instructor, on Earth we have a saying, the best defense against mind readers is having nothing worth reading.
As word of the humans' unique approach spread through the academy, other instructors began incorporating psychic null scenarios into their curricula. The galaxy's psychic species had spent millennia developing increasingly sophisticated mental abilities, never considering that perfect mental silence might be the ultimate psychic technique. Instructor Valneris updated her lesson plans with a new fundamental principle. Sometimes the most advanced ability is the complete absence of ability, refined to perfection through necessity. The humans from the Death World had taught the galaxy's most psychically gifted species something profound, that true mental strength sometimes meant learning not to think at all.